Good morning, all. We've got a bit of news going on, and I wanted to talk about it. Now, this is to do with Carlos Alcaraz and the Australian Open, and Whoop, the wearable that you get to, well, not that I have. We'll get to that in a minute. But the wearable that people use to track their fitness, track their exercise, and so on and so forth, track their sleep as well. And I believe at round 4 of the Open, Carlos Alcaraz was told to remove his device. And I thought this was really interesting from a sports perspective, from a personal perspective, from a general fitness perspective as well. Now, I think firstly the tour. So from what I understand, the tours themselves have approved these things, these fitness wearables. So for other tennis tournaments, you're all good. You can use your Whoop, but for the slams, they've not been approved yet. Now, my first thought is, well, surely the coaches, the agents of the players and the company themselves, Whoop, would know that we've not been approved yet for this, and they just went ahead and did it anyway. So I think, I don't mind breaking a few rules, but that's because no one really knows that I exist. If I was in charge of a big billion-dollar business, which I hope to be one day, then I think, come on, wakey. But for me personally, I wanted to sort of talk a bit about my thought process and my feelings towards wearables. Now, I have exercised for years. I've always loved exercise, and I'm a tech founder, but I actually live a relatively low tech life when it comes to fitness. With work, I'm all sorts, but with my body, I really like to keep it as natural as possible. I don't track my steps. I don't track my sleep. I track everything I eat. So I use I use MacroFactor. But I think it's really important to not have a reliance on technology when it comes to the fundamentals of the human condition. Really fundamental. I think we need to learn to listen to our bodies more, not less. More, not less. I think if you're relying on foundations that are built externally, what happens if those foundations don't exist one day? So let's say you've been wearing your Whoop for 6 months and all of a sudden it breaks, or the internet goes down, or there's a nuclear disaster, or whatever. Are you not going to sleep anymore? No, of course not. If anything, you probably sleep better because you don't have that anxiety of, oh, I need to check my sleep score. Oh no, this is a big thing which I've spoken to friends about. Oh no, I didn't. I only got a score of 75 last night with my sleep, and then you spend the whole day anxious about, oh, I need to make sure tonight's going to be a good night's sleep. No coffee before 12. I'm going to exercise like this, and I'm not going to have this food before I go to bed. And it's just all this falseness, and you're not living presently. And I'm not some kind of hippie, but if you're constantly thinking about your performance throughout the day, it's not. It can't be healthy. That cannot be a healthy way to exist. Just having this. You're thinking outside of your body constantly. There's times for that, of course, but I think we just need to calm down. For me, I don't believe most of these wearables are all that necessary, especially with young, healthy men and women. If you're older, I think that's probably quite important, actually, because I think old people have a tendency to. Now, this may be a generational thing, actually. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when my generation get a bit older, but certainly the generation now, I think they need to have this information because I think that a lot of them have relatively bad habits, which are unhealthy. But of course, the irony is that actually they are completely separate from technology, and actually, if anything, they are. That's something to be applauded. Anyway, I'm going off of track a little bit. So I think, firstly, for me, I think it's largely unnecessary. We should be learning to trust our bodies more, not less, more. My other issue is around the data. where is that data going? Who's it being shared with? I think these are, if it's free, then you're the customer. You are being monetized. This is the whole Facebook thing. This is how Facebook was able to. This is a business model that Facebook was able to build itself on. Now, and I think it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, sure, just tick the box. But I think as we move into a world where data becomes more and more valuable, I think we need to have more and more awareness of what our data. This is us. This is your information. It's a bit like saying, oh yeah, you can have my DNA. Here you go. Here's some. No, it's yours. It belongs to you. We are so important. We're so fortunate to be here. We shouldn't just treat our days, our time, our bodies like they are disposable. We shouldn't treat them like they're just ants in a farm so that someone can organize us. We are so much more than that. As individuals, we're important, and as a collective, we're also important. And I just wish we would respect that. And I think people are. Some people have I don't want to give my data away because it's going to the man. Fuck my man, whoever the man is. But for me personally, I just think it's having that awareness of where these things go. Because if we don't have this awareness, then the only way is down. So we need to now that data has really sort of become a large part of society, especially there's huge, great big volumes of it. I think we need to understand more about what it is. We need to treat it a little bit more carefully because obviously when over the past 10, 15 years, when data first really started to become important and we had to start sharing it to get access to things, sure, okay, cool, I understand. But now I think our collective consciousness has matured a bit about these sorts of things. I think we should start to think a bit more specifically and a bit more maturely with regards to where this information goes and what it's used for. Now, I think from an athlete's perspective, 1%, 0.1%, these are huge margins at the top of any professional sport, enormous margins. And so I think if you have that ability to take that advantage, you should. You really should. And so I think that is an argument I personally I can't overcome. The only thing to think about is, at what point do we start becoming, does sport move from being a technology-driven sport into at what point does a sport lose its innocence? So I'm a big Formula One fan, well before all these Drive to Survive TikTok teenagers. But it just does not feel good anymore. When I first started watching it around 2007, 2008, when Lewis Hamilton, Vettel, these guys were in their pomp, the cars were smaller. I mean, they were already technologically changed hugely from cars from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, of course. But they were way more pure now. Now you've got things like DRS, and you've got all these false ways of gaining performance that have got nothing to do with the performance of the driver. And I just think it almost feels like we're going to end up with two different sports in many different arenas, where you have the enhanced version and you have the pure version. Now, I'm not sure if this is still going ahead, but you have that you have the enhanced games, which is where athletes who take lots of steroids and performance enhancers are going to be able to compete in Olympic-based sports. And that's going to be filmed and done in contrast to the normal Olympics, where obviously everyone's supposed to be drug-free, apparently. And I just think it's difficult, isn't it? Because it feels like the world is only going one way, and it goes the way that humans do things, which is progress. We keep trying to make things better, but is more better? The problem is that people were asking this question 100 years ago, weren't they? And they were asking it 200 years ago, and 300 years ago. Is more better? Are we? I, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. But it does. It seems so interesting that even with a small incident like this, where an athlete gets told to take their wearable off during a tennis tournament, it leads to some pretty big questions around data, around whether or not normal people actually need wearables, which for me, I don't believe they do, around sports and what level of enhancement feels about right. Do we divide sports into two? So you have the Puritans and you have the technologists. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. I know what I would like. I would like things to be pure. I would like things to. I would like people to listen to their bodies more rather than rely on technology. But there's just the thing is, there's so many pros and cons to either. Survival of the fittest. That's the tick. That's the ticket. Survival of the fittest. Right. If you don't know how to sleep properly, you're dead. If you're not, if you need to wear a wearable to play any sports, no, you lose. Let's just do it like that. Survival of the fittest. Yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting thing. Final point is the governance. Now, I'm a massive rugby fan, and I know just how outdated the governance behind rugby is. I suspect it's the same with the Grand Slam tournaments because, again, it's a very traditional sport. So it's, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm amazed that the athletes, managers, coaches, the Whoop themselves haven't flagged up that this could be a problem already. It just seems like a bit of a basic error, personally. But yeah, anyway, interesting situation. I think it will resolve itself almost certainly. Like this technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But that doesn't mean to say that we should be reliant upon it. I think like anything, it's like my parents used to tell me when I used to drink orange juice. You can have too much of a good thing. Like it's have as much as you want, but not too much. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.